There are so many different factors that make a concert really enjoyable. To what extent a venue plays a part of that is, again, it's dependent on the venue, the people inside it and the audience.
Actually, many of the historical pieces were performed in spaces that weren't necessarily built for playing music. So it's not so far-fetched to get out of the concert hall. Concert hall is a fairly recent invention. If it builds barriers between us musicians and audiences, then that's not good. Then we should also go out and play in different venues.
We were looking for a good venue, and we wanted to find a place a little bit off-site, off-road of the classical music scene, also to get a new audience, more young people, younger crowd. And then we find the Heimathafen in Neukölln, a very nice old ballroom and theater.
I think the Heimathafen is, for us, is a very, very special audience. You can really hear somebody drop a pin. They're especially attentive and really no coughing, not at all. Very welcoming and seem to be always very happy to be there.
There's a sort of barrier between us and a really non-classical audience, and that's why it's so nice to come here, where people come to listen to all sorts of different things, and it's not a venue you necessarily yet associate with classical music.
We've never wanted to be a typical music venue or a concert hall that's quite stuffy or has a very prescriptive programme. We've always wanted artists to be themselves. It also gives the artist complete freedom to choose what they want to play and to talk right to the audience and with a direct dialogue and say, I chose this because of this and I like this because of this, and invite that conversation almost like a salon with very talented people. I think is a privilege for the audiences, but is a great way for us to meet people and for our audiences to meet people, and you never know what will come out of those collaborations.
Multi-Story is currently based in a car park in Peckham, but we're expanding out to other spaces. We're actually doing one in the Albury Festival in a car park in Ipswich. Well, ideally we'd like to find spaces around the country that we can use. Old industrial spaces would be great. So we're looking at ideally doing a tour up the whole country and finding some spaces that really work for it, that are the right kind of thing, but also have a good acoustic and enough space. Yeah. And if we find those that we really want to be in, we will invest in being there longer term.
My experience growing up is that I much preferred concert halls, just because I mean, there's a sense of place, the acoustic's better, there's a sense of occasion or whatever. I've not yet really had. I've had interesting social experiences in terms of the kind of, there's been a great buzz and there's been a great audience in certain places that I may have performed those, but in terms of like the really high level of musical performance, that I only really find in the best concert halls in the world, played by the best people.
Depends, of course, also very much on the styles you play. I think so many classical music is written to sound good, basically, and it's for that it can be a shame if you're playing some Mozart in a very experimental space that doesn't support the refinement of everything you have been practicing for ages.
There was a period when I was doing a little bit of work for Scottish opera. What they do is they'd take operas like Marriage of Figaro or Madame Butterfly, and they'd condense it into 20 minutes, and with this 20-minute production, they'd also have it arranged for like 3 instruments. And it was just supposed to be a way of getting opera to people who wouldn't be able to see it because like they're disabled, or a way of getting children interested in opera or high schoolers.
In East Newark Festival, I'm going to be in a field with 32, if not 64 horn players. They might think, going to a field in Fife and hearing a load of noise from a load of horn players walking about. You know, I think that's one way of breaking down a barrier, I think.
For that kind of things, the whole concept of what you want to achieve with music goes above the space. So the space will be actually a secondary thing.
When you start to remove the hall for which those performances were designed for, you start to encounter a lot of difficulties, which for me impinge on the quality of the performance.
So once I had to play at Stirling Castle, well actually I've played a few times, and that involved wheeling my harp up the drawbridge and up quite a steep hill really before...
With cobbles as well, so you can't really wheel it.
To get to the Great Hall it's called.
Yeah.
Now by the time I got there and back in the evening, the wheels of my trolley were completely flat, which didn't help the situation either. So that was a bit of a strenuous harp gig.
It's a difficult thing to find spaces that aren't set up for performance, to get them to work as performance spaces. There's a lot that you have to put into place to do that.
I don't tend to do much in unusual venues. I think often because my job is either an opera house or a concert hall, or it requires a grand piano. But I think it's important that the music can speak in the space, and I think that is important. If I didn't feel the music could speak in the space, I'm not sure I'd do it. But I do feel that that isn't the case here. The music speaks well in here.
There's probably a number of people that we have lost by moving the series to this particular hall in that particular part of town. A certain audience, maybe a little bit higher up in age, who feel that they don't feel necessarily at home in this particular part of town. It's possible, but on the other side, we've gained younger audience.
I think those kind of experiences are incredibly important for audiences and help to include audiences that would normally not go to a concert hall.
With lots of people, they had their first classical concert there, and they were very surprised how much fun and how much they can enjoy classical music, and that's a very big goal we want to achieve.
Absolutely.
I think.
And in this sort of surrounding, it's the greatest joy.